Today, a 79-page report on the Washington Commanders was released by the House Congressional Committee. The committee opened an investigation into the team's workplace misconduct and culture of sexual harassment last year. Tonight, legal expert Seth Berenzweig joins us to break this all down. Seth, great to have you.
Great to be here.
So the Congress got involved in all this because the NFL refused to release the findings of their report into the workplace culture of the Commanders. And so this House committee did their own investigation, and they put out this 79-page report. Kind of break down for us some of its findings.
Sure. So this is the latest storm cloud that has hit the Washington Commanders. As you know, almost exactly a month ago, there was a lawsuit filed by the DC Attorney General relating to very similar allegations. Today, the House Oversight Committee released a scathing report that really shows in detail the facts and the circumstances at the Washington Commanders, the environment that's been happening there for many years. It lays out what is alleged to be a very toxic and harassing work environment. And it not only focuses on the toxic work environment that was permitted and encouraged allegedly by Dan Snyder, but also about the cover-up. I think there's really a very big focus in the report that focuses on the cover-up, not only in terms of the alleged undermining and preventive actions that Dan Snyder took, which Congress believes really inhibited the investigation. But then the report goes on in pretty striking detail to go after the NFL and specifically Commissioner Roger Goodell. And the cover-up story there continues. Specifically, the allegations there are pretty striking, talking about how the cover-up involved instructing Beth Wilkerson to bury and not provide a formal written report, providing a fine that in terms of the real money dollars at issue was a slap on the wrist, and even going so far as to having a conclusion that Dan Snyder's wife can go ahead and run the team as somehow some kind of a reasonable business method for adjusting to the reality of what was really going on the ground. And it really is an amazing story because you really can't imagine any kind of a modern sports franchise that has been run in this kind of a fashion that's still going. I think about the recently terminated CEO of Disney, who was kicked out after 2 years. Dan Snyder's been running this organization for over 20 years. We see this report. We see the allegations of sexual harassment and a toxic work environment. And it's really interesting to see how they weave in how the NFL and Roger Goodell helped engage in that cover-up, which really brings us to all the substance of the report that was released today.
And, you know, in this report, there's also allegations of that the House committee is now confirming that Dan Snyder was tampering with this investigation, that was also, intimidating some of these witnesses that wanted to come forward. Earlier tonight, I spoke with an attorney who represents about dozens of these former employees who have been fighting for transparency. And she tells me that this was a step in the right direction when it comes to transparency, some validation. What do you think this does for the future of the franchise, for the NFL to have such a scathing report come out?
Well, I think it's important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it really allows for an amplification and an understanding of what actually happened. The committee worked very hard. This was an investigation that took place over a year, and the committee and its staff, I think, did a very good job in putting this report together. There are a lot of details. But as a practical matter, I think the other thing that the report does is it really turns up the heat on Dan Snyder in order to accelerate a sale of the team. As we know, Bank of America has been working with the Snyders to put the team up for sale. This is going to really add to the heat for not only Dan Snyder, but for the NFL to try to accelerate their process. It really is unbelievable to me that the league would even try to support him engaging any longer with the team. Or to keep him on,
because, yeah, it seems like just even keeping him on or having his name in the news connected to this team seems toxic at this point. We have to leave it there, but a lot more to dig into this 79 pages if anyone wants to go read it. But Seth Berenzweig, thank you so much for your expertise.